Yo, what's going on, guys? Locust Risen here, and Hive season is back. Hive, Kakunas, Weedles, Mega Beedrills, and Beedrills all alike. Hive fans or not Hive fans or Hive server people all alike, it does not matter. One of my favorite times have come with the Hive season, especially when it's honey whoring season. Woo! Yeah, best way to get honey is to make some good videos, and one of my favorite projects is back in the works, and it is this. It is we are here with rather best of the rest. And if you do not know this, it is you take the mons that were not drafted by the leagues and you make the best team you can with them. And I'm not the one doing it today though. This is my honey. This is part of the honey whoring process, but I want to spread the love, and I am joined with a very good pal, a good pal of myself, a good pal of Hive members in general. We have my boy Saint.
It's good, yo.
Oh boy. All right, Saint. So, you're not playing in Hive, correct?
Yeah, this season I'm sitting out.
Mm-hmm. That's what I thought. And I brought this up to you, and we looked at the Kakuna draft here and what's left. What do you have to say to Kakuna first off with what they left?
Yeah, I've decided that they should retake a lesson in drafting. This is embarrassing, really.
Like look at all these things that are left. Like just some things like Jirachi, Latios, Komao is a big one with what has been like what it got in Gen 8 with Clanger Souls,
For
I
sure,
believe.
for sure.
Just a lot of broken mons here. Like you guys are able to see this. And something else that you guys I will show you guys is look over here. It's a Mega League as well. National Dex Mega League. Hive being Hive. Yeah, they're doing their things. They made their tiers, they made their system, and let me fix this real fast. But other than that, we have a system, and Saint is the one that made his own team with 1,000 points and the same tiering restrictions or requirements, rather, that all Hive players have to go through, and that you see it right in the bottom right corner. If you look at this doc, see anything that you want to make your own teams with, hey, go ahead. Be my guest. Let me know. I'd be super hyped to see it. But other than that, Saint, what's the first thing you really saw when you were looking at this doc?
Yeah, well, no team is complete without a really strong, solid starting breaker mon. And I see that Latios is still somehow on the board. And for me at least, Latios has just traditionally across the three gens, like Gen 6, Gen 7, and even Gen 8, been one of the most prominent breakers. So I felt like it's kind of criminal that such a good mon is still available on the board, especially with Pursuit being gone this gen, and Pursuit and Signal being gone this gen, which makes Latios even like greater of a breaker. And it doesn't even really need Z moves to really like tear through holes.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided that it would be a good idea to start my build off with Latios, just because it's just such a hard mon to break. Like with it's got great bulk and it's just such a potent breaker as well. Like it's definitely going to help break through a bunch of teams.
That's very true. Uh, Latios was a huge one in Gen 8, being able to be with Z moves, but have like the big thing was, hey, you still had like those assault vested dark types that could pursue it, and now, hey, you have something that no pursuit and it is ready to wreak havoc. But apparently, Kakuna did not believe so. So
I
that's
also
on.
want to say that like Alola Muck, which is one of its best checks back in the day, like it's not as good anymore because the berries got nerfed.
That is
So
true.
Latios is
It's
even
right.
better.
Oh yeah. It depends. Like you look at stuff like Tyranitar, Weavile, Alolan Muck, like a lot of Crocodile, like those do not have the pursuit, and that is a huge thing for mons such as Latios. And yeah, Latios, amazing first pick in my opinion. Uh, for me, when I look at the tier ones, if I had to go like a first pick, I would probably easily go Latios, Jirachi, or Komao, in my opinion. Like, those are just three stellar mons to even have on a team. So to have an option between all three, that's insane in my mind. But yeah, what'd you follow that up with?
Well, I took Scizor, and Scizor just is one of the most ridiculous mons. I'm surprised that I have no clue just how it got drafted, like in any division, let alone like in a league like Hive, where like a lot of good players are obviously play in. But like Scissor with no HP Fire, Like it's always been already been one of the most potent breakers that's available in any gen since it's been out. Like it's always been such a great mon with technician and momentum, and it obviously doesn't have pursuit anymore. But it's just such a great mon with so many utilities, and without hidden power, like now its SD sets are like straight up broken. Like
Exactly.
it's so hard to check it. It's hard to check it, with, especially with like all the great mons that's available. Plus like great synergy with Latios with the U-turn potential, access to knock superpower, all the good old.
Mhm.
Uh, and just really like no hidden power fire just means they can come in on so many more dragons. Like with like Hydreigon and like Dragon Dance, like Dragonite, like as the like main exceptions. But like most dragons don't really like at least the Lotties like don't have coverage that don't have like that fire coverage that used to stretch and Scissor's defensive potential. Now it can just come in for free on like Kyurem, Lati, like all these mons with good investment. And it's just such a great breaker that like it's just such a sin that it went and drafted.
Oh yeah, and I think that's something like that shocked me more so with like all the mons drafted in Gen 8 is like something I thought was pretty huge was that hidden powers were not going to be that relevant anymore, or they're obsolete rather. And we have like Ferrothorns, Gliscor, Garchomp, Landos, Zygardes, like all these mons that hate hidden powers. They are able to run Rampage right now, and Scizor is no exception. It did lose Pursuit, but Pursuit was not a move that was necessarily like it was not required on Scizor all the time. It was just if you wanted to really flex on the fuckers that have like psychic types, or you want to just like get the quick kill, or the quick prediction. So it was Pursuit was a good flexing move for Scizor. Other than that, Scizor is a beast. Uh, Having no hidden power, it just makes it that much more of a threat. Uh,
Yeah,
Moving on. What'd you follow that up? You have an amazing core right now. So
yeah. I want to add to that with a good mon that could handle Scissor's weaknesses, obviously being the main fire type. And this mon pairs greatly with Latios as well. I took Fini.
Tapu
I
Fini.
Yeah, Fini. Uh, it's it's just like such a great mon. I feel like Fini's always been like on the little bit like in the middle of like overrated and just right. So, but it's great bulk. Obviously, a defogger. Nature's Madness is amazing. Taunt, knock, haze. Like you can just do so many things with Fini, and you can run offensive sets, which is pretty fantastic with Fini as well.
Yeah, of
Like
course.
you can call mine so well. Like Fini's just great bulk that you can run so much speed too because it's just so naturally fat. Uh, do so much utility wise. Uh, Offensively and defensively, especially, which really opens up the door for Scizor and Latios, especially because it acts as the third defogger already, which means
Hmm.
that I won't be necessarily pressured to use either of the first two for hazard removal, which is really nice and lets them open up the offensive potential even more.
Always, man. And something I feel like with Fini when it comes to a team like this so far is it's almost a guaranteed 50% off if you choose to with Nature's Madness. And a lot of mods taking away 50% just opens a floodgate for Latios and Scissor's offensive potential. And it just, Tapu Fini is nothing to really laugh at. Like its offensive prowess is probably a little bit more to be hoped for, but I mean, even then, its bulk and ability to just take off half with Nature's Madness or Defog, or even you can even run the Calm Mindsets really work out with Tapu Fini. And even then, it's like, hey, your team is actually very synergized for a so far with a draft pool that is already completed drafting and not even close to being probably this could be a seen as a top three like Fairy Seal Dragon Core already.
Yeah, I would have to point out like that on in the same division that like in the same tier that didn't get drafted. You have stuff like Volcarona, Weavile, Tyranitar, and Thundurus,
Hmm.
which are just all such fantastic mons that just in general,
Oh
like
yeah.
that. Yeah, I assume that the only reason they didn't get drafted was obviously due to the points restriction. But it's honestly criminal that some of these other mons got drafted when these things didn't. Like Tyranitar, obviously, uh, with no pursuit, but such a good stance setter that
Hmm.
and just overall hard hitter. Weevil, with this being post home, I'm pretty sure it still retains knock. Still got a great mod, especially with all the dark like ghost types being super annoying this gen. We've always such great check to all of them. Volcrona, access to boots. Thunderous is probably one of the only electrics that can still be like truly relevant due to its grass knot and just nasty plot and everything. Like it's still one of the only electrics that can actually like really threaten the grounds. So it's kind of like crazy that all of these mons didn't go drafted. And of course, like you said earlier, Como with the new Omni boosting ability.
Yeah, like a lot of these mons, like whether they're tier 1A or B, I could see all these mons having a reason to be drafted overall. It's really is truly criminal that, like you said, that these mons have not been drafted. So the fact that we have the potential to shine them off for themselves with your own drafts make it that much better, in my opinion. But moving on, what do you have next? You have a killer fairy steel dragon core, and a lot of points were used in this. So I'm really interested to see what you did moving forward.
Well, there's a mon that I think was already a pretty threatening mon that was in last gen, but it just got even better this gen, and that's Halucha.
Lucha.
And Halusha being undrafted is just straight up criminal as well. Like it's such a great breaker. I learned Brave Bird in close combat in Gen 8, which just opened up the doors so much more. Now that it doesn't have to rely on high jump kick and acrobatics. With Brave Bird doing obviously a little bit more damage than acrobatics would, and close combat just being a way more reliable fighting stab than what's it called? High jump kick, of course. Also, it's got great potential just as a general mon. It's got U-turn, encore, roost, taunt, moves like that to really help support your team if need be. And along with the misty terrain, it's got this obviously potential to be seed, which means that unburden activates and really opens up the door even more. Uh, it's just such a great breaker. That gives me just like another offensive win con. That works with Latios and Lucha, Latios and Scizor really well, and just helps like just tear teams apart offensively. So far based on the first four picks, like there really isn't anything that can reliably break all four, which is kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, you said it best right here. It's just that Halucha like had its own presence in Gen 7 with Seed and Tapu, or any of the Tapus really, but more or less Tapu Koko. But even then, Halucha has not wavered at all in this coming into this gen, because even though the damage nerfs happened in for rather the terrains, Halucha still kind of boosted up, I guess, because it still gets the seed, the uh, it still gets the unburden boost with the tapus, depending on which ones you have and everything. And then on top of that, if you really don't need a surge set, like if you don't want to have the surge seed set, really, then you could have what you have just the wide herb close combat now, because now you lose your stats but gain them right back, and now you do have acrobatics, and then even then you don't need acrobatics because you have Brave Bird now. Halusha was a terrible mon to see on the other side of the prep field during Gen 7, and to have it in this aftermath of this Gen 8 draft is I any any word similar to criminal, because that's what it is really. Another solid draft pick to go with your mons already.
Yeah, it's also kind of crazy that spawns like Gossetail, which got way better this gen, with a great deal of extra setup moves that it learned this gen, like stored power, not stored power. What is it called? Cosmic power. It gets cosmic power now, which makes it way better. Mammoth Swine, which has always been such a solid breaker. Shaman is probably what I'm most surprised about due to its ability to actually still hit flyers with Earth power and
Yeah,
just all around bulk. Like these monsters didn't get drafted, and like there really isn't any better grasses than Shaman. Like Shaman is probably, apart from Ferrosaur this gen, of course, the premier grass, which makes it even more baffling that it didn't get drafted. It's just it's just such a superior grass option to like so many mons that are probably on the board. So I don't know if it was new toy syndrome or something like that that let Shaman stay on the board, or it was just like a the people thought it was a high price. But Shaman's just been so good, man. Like I don't understand why it would go undrafted. He's
So
just
tell
so
me,
good.
Saint, are you a Shaman over Celebi fan?
I'm neutral because I feel like they do like fairly different roles. I feel like Celebi offers more like a offensive presence, while Shaman's like acts like it's better defensively. But they definitely both like are pretty solid. Like I'm not like particularly hating on uh one over the other. Like I like both like fairly equally on the right team. But I would probably prefer Shaman like on most drafts because I feel like it's easier to slap it on.
I like it. I like it indeed. And you know, Shaman is a beast of a mon. I'm a Shaman over Celebi fan because I've never used Celebi. I don't think, or I've used it like a couple times, but like dropped it immediately or soon after
Yeah.
getting it. Yeah, I don't know. It just didn't feel right on my team. But anyways, it's how it goes. It's just all about how the drafts work. And speaking of drafts working, what about your fifth mon?
This one I had to think about a little bit, but I decided to go into kind of like figure out what roles I still need on my team. And at this point, I decided to go with yet another like great mon, Reuniclus. Uh,
You
yeah. Reuniclus is disgustingly good psychic. It's been disgustingly good, and now without pursuit, it is filthy. Uh, Especially in like pre-home Galar Daxes where there's no knock. Like Reuniclus is filthy good. Uh, it's always been one of the most potent mons, in my opinion. As a psychic, bulky psychic, checks basically all the good fighting types, very solidly, especially with the Cobra, if need be. Hits like a tank. It gets a million setup options, and still retained focus blast, which means that unlike a lot of other psychics per se, it can still hit dark types, which is like super nice for it. And it's got like Thunder for Mandibuzz, which is otherwise would be a problem. It got coverage moves like Knock, like for utility options. Like it's just such a filthy good mon. Like it's really just a crime that this thing got undrafted over like Cresselia, which isn't half bad by any means. Like it's still a solid mon, but like you can't have Cresselia be drafted over Reuniclus. Like that's just ridiculous.
Not at all. It is truly ridiculous. It's like we talked about Latios being more prominent with no pursuiters, but that easily applies to Rhenoclus as well. And the fact that like Rhenoclus being bulkier, basically bulkier, better setup options, reliable recovery, magic guard, or regenerator. It really does all the work, and it's the fact that it was not drafted is just shocking overall.
But you've got along with Reuniclus, you've got mons like Arcanine, which with boots is like one of the most annoying mons to deal with. Like I've seen Arcanine play in games like so for this gen, and with boots, Arcanine never dies. Like
Never, ever.
it's just so obnoxious to play against with Intimidate or Flash Fire. Duck Trio with his trapping ability. I'm not amazing surprised that Dodrio didn't go, but like at the same time, that's like a really solid one that could have gone. Metagross not going is probably a little on the ridiculous side as well. Just such a great steal with
Hmm.
rocks and like hard hitting like moves such as Meteor Mash, and Priority and Bullet Punch. Just great overall presence, both offensively and defensively. Although it did lose pursuit. Pelipper, I'm not amazing surprised to not see go, but Pelipper Barraskewda are both in this tier, and that could have really been nice for like a rain core per se.
Hmm.
So that's like all mons that I'm a little surprised it didn't go.
Yeah, man. I think this whole, like the whole premise of like what I understand, I guess that not all mons are going to be drafted, but I think the mons that haven't been drafted that you've been able to snatch up onto this team after the fact is just absolutely insane. What like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's like we're only 5 months in, and like you have a killer team already. It's I don't know what else to say really. You've done yourself pretty good just drafting half a team so far, but that's not what a team is. A team is a whole team, all 11 mons. So what is that next mon you got?
This one is known to be the greatest rocker of all time. We've decided to take Pilot One here,
Piloswine.
and and up to this point, like my one like arguable weakness is something like the Thunder Resist, which obviously in hindsight didn't go, but like a Thunder like an electric type with great like coverage like Dark Pulse, like that looks pretty filthy annoying. But with Pylos line, you automatically get one of the premier electric chains in the game, even though electric types aren't like anywhere near as good anymore. Um, you get like Pylos line has been known to check any and all electric types. Uh, Pretty freaking well. Even though like obviously some mons do get like focus blast and grass not threatened, like it's so bulky that it'll probably take tank those really well and just pop it with like powerful earthquakes and icicle crashes or like shard. Uh, and obviously it's just known in the community as such a great rocker that I'm just like baffled to go. Obviously, this is like a little bit on the expensive side. 3B is definitely on the expensive side for Pilo Swine,
Mhm.
but it's certainly like one of the better mons in general. Like
Oh
it's a
yeah,
little
man.
surprising that I didn't go for sure.
I mean, if there's anything I've known from knowing Owen for my whole draft league career is that Piloswine is just a beast, and no matter what like your team really is, Piloswine is always a good fit for your team. And the fact that Piloswine is here, and Piloswine hasn't didn't really get any nerfs that I can think about. And if anything, maybe it even got better because now you won't have Mons with like HP Fire hitting it for 12 or like 20% minimum or whatever.
Of course, and it's
Uh,
got great abilities too.
oh
You know,
yeah,
Oblivious and Thick Fat. So
Oblivious. Oblivious getting the buff in this gen to not be affected by Intimidate now as well. So
that's true. That's true. I didn't think about that,
yeah,
but that's pretty fire too.
just more reasons why Piloswine should have been drafted in Kakuna. You are terrible, terrible people. So I hope you learn
That's
your
true.
lesson. Yeah, Piloswine.
Imagine
Uh,
imagine hitting on Piloswine.
exactly.
That's a sin.
Uh, I don't know. But I'm feeling filling up with rage just thinking about it. So just Saint, just take me away. Just what's your next mon that you drafted?
Oh, in Hive, you're not allowed to go below 0. So I decided to go with my Mega, and I took Mega Sableye. And Mega Sableye is a bit of a sleeper pick, I feel like, because like it's by no means like a great Mega, like especially with fairies being so good, like just in general, with like Clef. Nowadays, there's also Hatterene. There's Fini Coco, Lele. Bulu doesn't really count as a fairy in that sense, but it's still got like good roles on my team. For example, I feel what a thing I really like about Sableye is that it invalidates like a lot of fighting types, and since it's a mega, obviously it can't be knocked, which helps Fini a lot. Since that means that Fini doesn't have to be my sole kind of like fighting check, which means that like most of the fighting types, such as um like a Mian Shao, for example, like Mian Shao is basically completely invalidated by Sableye. Like it can't do anything. So by having Mega Sableye, I not only have the magic bounce to like shield off hazards, if need be. I have like a great fighting check that just basically invalidates anything that was threatened, like Piloswine or Scizor or anything like that. So for what it gives me, which is a whole 80 extra points, and for just being an overall obnoxious mon to pair with Vinny and Pylo, I just felt like it would be a really good pickup with this team.
Oh yeah, dude, definitely. It's like for me, I know that I was never a big fan of Mega Sableye, but I don't know if I would have put it in a tier 3A type of situation where it gives you 80 points extra. It's just like put a little more respect on it because, just with the right team, it does everything you need to. It's bulky and it's annoying. It's the fighting check that you said that it's very nice for. And it's just like
Yeah,
you could even use it as uh, but like if there's no real fairy on another side of the block, then you could use this as a setup sweeper really, and uh, even just destroy anything on the other side of the field. So
for sure.
it like May Sableye, I feel like he was disrespected and put into 3A at least. But their loss means your gain for a team, and 80 extra points sounds very good for what you already have on your team.
Does
So
it
now that
sounds amazing.
oh, it definitely does. So now that we have 80 more points to use and four more picks to go with, well, what's next?
Well, my team right now is in need of a little more hazard support. My hazards come from just Pylo. So I wanted to change this team up a little bit, add a little bit of hazard support. So I took Quillfish, uh, which is what am I like? It's still a really solid mon. I'm surprised it goes undrafted. Once again, Quillfish. This time it's my grounded poison, which means that I get to remove hazards pretty simply. Um, it's 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 obnoxious. It's got intimidate, which once again help with any fighting type mons that want to try and like break me, like any physical mons basically. A lot of them are nicely checked by Quillfish and the utility Quillfish gets, such as T-Wave Taunt, Destiny Bond, uh, and of course access to spikes and T-Spikes, which is the big one. Uh, Decent offensive potential too. Like not, I wouldn't call it great offensively, but it's definitely got like SD, B jab, liquidation. So just an overall very solid mon. Uh, Also, helps Finny alleviate some of the pressure of spinning the Soul Water, because Finny can definitely be overwhelmed sometimes of the Soul Water if you're playing against something like a Cinderace, which has like Gong U-turn, and which, especially if it's knocked, Quillfish can add to that help, really help answer some of the things that Finny possibly can't, which is why I felt like it would be a really solid pick on with this team.
Yeah, for sure. Just going based off what it does. I mean, I'm not one to hate on multiple waters on the team, especially if they do different tasks. And Quillfish is an amazing mon for what its task needs to be, such as spikes, T spikes, getting rid of T spikes on your side, Destiny Bonder, uh, semi-offensive potential. Even it has a couple different roles that it could play, and yet it does them pretty well. So it does its thing. Intimidate, though Intimidate took a little bit of a nerf in this gen, Intimidate is still very good for a mon like Quillfish. And hey, if you want to run, hey, what is it? The Rain Dance Swift Swim set? Go ahead and use it and destroy what's on the other side, hopefully. But yeah, Quillfish, great mon. I like it. I think that was a really good tier 4 you could end up grabbing, especially for what its usage would be for.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah, what about your next mon?
Well, at this point, I was thinking to myself, my team looks really ground weak. Let me grab a grass. So I ended up taking um Quilladin. Yeah, Quilladin. And I think that Quilladin's pretty like it's obviously been getting a lot more usage thanks to DPL. Like people are starting to respect what it can do. Just being an obnoxious grass type or that has access to spikes. Um, it's very very obnoxious for grounds to break Quilladin. Like the only thing that I can think of off the top of my head that is a ground that can really pressure like a Quilladin is something like a Lando Eye, like with sludge waves.
Mm-hmm.
Like that sounds a little bit obnoxious, but like most physical grounds, especially which is about like almost all of them, are decently checked by Quilladin. Another ground that would be really pain would be Gliscor, of course, with ground flying. But uh, Quilladin as a whole generally would check majority of grounds, which is what I needed it to do on this team. I think that 5A is a fairly good price for it. It's not too high to the point that uh, I wouldn't like feel like it's worth the value, but it's not like too low to the point that it's like beyond underrated that everybody would jump for it. So I feel like that's like a pretty good spot for it, and it just fits such a nice role on my team.
Oh yeah, man. Quilladin is something for myself, whereas I've used it in DPL mocks here and there, and it's pretty good for what it does. Ground check. It's a spiker. Bulletproof really helps out because now in Gen 8, uh, Quilladin hard walls Roserade because Roserade actually does nothing to Quilladin.
That's true.
It has to have like extra sensory or something. But other than that, or
It,
what?
it
It's
needs sludge.
yeah,
Sludge,
sludge,
yeah,
sludge, not sludge bomb because you can't because bulletproof, but not even sludge wave because it doesn't have it. Just sludge. You know, it's like that ain't a fun time. That just is not a fun time at all. And Quilladin is a really bulky yet good mon. A nice annoyance for a 5A mon, that's for sure. And
for sure.
even at this point, you're starting to work around the team. Like you didn't have a huge ground weakness, but you're not even one to risk it. You know, you're just gonna make sure that every all your bases are covered and covered well.
For sure, for sure.
And I think Quelden is a very nice mon to have to cover a base like another ground check. Now you have two picks left with 140 points. You have one tier 3 to grab and a free Pokemon. Tell me, what did you go with?
I went with Rabombi. Uh, a very obnoxious mon Rabombi is. Uh, man, I'm gonna call out my boy Count Terrario, but my man's Rabombi just absolutely destroyed him last season with sub quiver. I think it was Moonblast or Bug Buzz and Protect. This mon is obnoxious. It can quiver. It can get webs up. It can U-turn. It can stun spore. It's got great speed, solid enough coverage. Oh, and it's got Imprison too. I saw Imprison Rabombi the other day to block off of an opponent's webs. Fire prep. Like it's really nice. It also gives me like a much better speed tier, which is the main reason I took it. It helps to boost my speed up a lot. Like since my fastest mon and to this point is Lucha, which is obviously under terrain most times, so I probably won't be running like the uh, full speed variant. With webs potentially, I can run like modest Finny. I can run modest Latios depending on the matchup. I can run like Bandit, Scizor a lot more. Like it just helps open up the offensive potency for my team a lot more if I were to bring it. Along with just offering like a good backup option. Like you can't just let like something like Robombi go rampant on you, like a Quiver Dance later, and like you might be in serious trouble depending on what your team is. So I felt like it would be a really solid add to my team.
Oh yeah, man. If anything, I love this Robomi pick because it gives you the speed tier, it gives you webs if you so desire. But what I see with when you picking up Rabombi is that you are just like set with many different ways to win. You have various setup opportunities with Latios, Halucha, Rabombi, Mega Sableye, Scizor, Tapu Fini, and Reuniclus if you so wanted to. But then, like even then, like you have these setup options, but all of them happen in their own different ways, and whether they're sticky web supported or not, it's you just have a lot of different ways to just break teams, and Rabomi is nothing to laugh at either. It's Rabomi is a pretty good mon in itself. I think I remember I got a 10 turn sweep with like Rabomi in an IPA season before. It was just hilarious, and it's just like it's a mon that can be powerful by itself or be very good team support. And Rabomi being in tier 3 and undrafted, probably not the best decision by Kakuna, but that's basically this whole how the whole draft pool's been going. I don't even have to look at what their drafts actually are to say I'll probably put money on your team rather than their team. And Saint, something I wanted to run by you because apparently there is some miscalculation. You have 60 points instead of 40 points with your
Yeah,
last pick.
I went
You
with
you
a
had
little
a
under.
yeah you miscalculated when you had Uniclus at 140 instead of 120, which it is. So
Oh, well, that's even better value. I didn't even realize.
yeah, so you have one pick left. What you sent me before, you originally had uh, Articuno as a tier 5A to grab. You have a whole tier 4 to grab if you so desired.
Actually, I know exactly what I would change it to. Actually,
All right, hit me with it. What's your
and
last one?
I would change it to Diancie because at this
Diancie.
point I actually don't have that many rocks. This gives me like triple fairy, which is like a bit unconventional, but like none of my fairies are traditionally like actually like truly weak to poison. Like Dancy is rock. Dancy is rock fairy, which means that it's like not weak to poison. Fini's not weak to steel because it's water fairy. Like only and like Ribombi's not gonna be switching into anything that's that kind of coverage by any means. And it gives me rocks, which is like probably the most important part. Since my only rocker apart from that is Piloswine. Gives me heal bell. Gives me Diamond Storm, which is such a nice move in general. Um, it kind of like, since I don't really have like a huge ground problem, I think this is fine as well. Like it just sits there and it's kind of obnoxious. Uh, Another option for this team would be something like Runarigas. Uh, or but the other important thing that the NC gives me is it gives me a flying resist, which I realized just now I don't really have. Um, which means that something like Torn doesn't just destroy me. Like it needs to come up with like other ways to break me, like something like Iron Tail maybe. But like if it's running Iron Tail, it doesn't have like sufficient coverage to beat like everything else, which I'm fine with sacrificing. So that's why I'm going to go with the NC. I just feel like it just covers so much for me.
Oh yeah, man. I think going from a Articuno to a Diancie is generally a very, very nice upgrade for the team, especially with just going on based off a an ad libbed miscalculation, and that's something that we didn't catch when we were going over the teams before. But yeah, overall, look like Diancie's really good mon. Special attack, nothing to laugh about. Granted, its HP and speed are low, but hey, this is a bulky mon. You know, it is bulky. It is strong in its own senses. It does what you need to do between a cleric rocker or just eating up a couple hits. You know, it. You have a lot of potential with Diancie, especially with your team. It gives you another rocker. You know, and that's a huge thing. Granted, Piloswine's a very reliable rocker, but being able to have more is just generally better. And
For sure.
Diancie is also clear body, I believe, right?
Yeah,
Which
it's the clear body.
it's not gonna have anything to make it not eat hits uh, any more. So you know, it's just gonna tank more. If it's the right move, it'll tank the move, and it won't even think about any drops in SPDEF or defense or anything such as that. So it could
No HP steal to either. Like no HP steal.
exactly.
Fire.
It is a very very nice mon to have on this team, and look at this team to end off Saint. Like you see this team, and it like this is something I would definitely not say this came off of a uh, like rest of the draft pool. You know, this is something I would say, hey, this person probably got a good like maybe a back end pick of the draft of a like a 16-person draft, maybe like a 11 or 12 or 13 maybe, but this is still a really really good draft, and it is something that it was my pleasure to have you do this with me. Saying it really was.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Anything left you have to say about your team?
Um, if somebody took over and had unlimited trades, take this team. I think it's pretty fire. You can probably replace Triple Fairy with something else of your liking, but I mean like the fairies do totally different things, so I think that's like fairly fine. But of course, up to you.
Oh yeah.
Um, and also just consider like all the other options that are still available. Like we talked about all these ones, but like there's still stuff like Ditto, which is pretty like decent. Boltond is pretty decent. Durant this generation is straight up sauce with first impression.
Oh yeah.
Um,
I mean,
and like
even then, it doesn't even restrict down to lower tiers. If you have the higher tier area, hey, Jirachi, Manaphy, Komao, like all these mons are available. All these really good high tier mons are available. All the good, there's good low tier mons available, like Slow King and Alolan Ninetales and Klefki, and like there's a lot of good mons just waiting to be picked. And hey, this is your guys' chance to do so because, in my opinion, Kakuna, you did not bring your best game. To be honest, like what happened, guys? Like, come on now, you didn't bring the best game, and I had to bring on Saint and show you how it's done to draft a team with mons that weren't even with mons that were like not even half the draft pool was of still available. So come on now.
there's still some really good teams that are drafted. Like obviously some of these teams with higher like much better megas. Like obviously those teams are supposed to be way better, but like this team could probably go head to head with any team in the league, which is the scary part.
Oh, I 100% agree with you on that. It's just like this team that you made. Like I said, it's not something I would have thought that was drafted by other teams. Or it wasn't something I would say, hey, all these mods in the uh, were in the draft pool still, and I would totally believe that you could probably go head to head with any team in Kakuna right now, to be honest. But yeah, from there, I think this is the best place to call it if I had to say so myself. Saint, once again, thank you so much for joining me. Uh, really great team you have here. Really great mind to have here and talk with about your team and the different mons available and how Kakuna is just straight trash at drafting, apparently. Yeah, but thank you so much for joining me.
No, thank you for having me.
Uh, Team Honey Whores, am I right?
I'm Honey Horse for sure, for sure.
Oh, yeah. And with that, this is what I will call it. I'll see you guys next time. I loved your faces. Bye!